Welcome to the Get Fit Guys quick and dirty tips to get moving and shape up. My name is Brock Armstrong, and I'm the Get Fit Guy. A while ago, a listener named Louis wrote in and asked this. I have thin legs and thin arms and a flat chest. What I do have is a pretty big belly. What is the fastest way to gain muscle? Well, to start with, in the fitness industry, Louis would be termed an ectomorph body type, meaning he is naturally thin. He's also what we would call a hard gainer, meaning his body type has difficulty putting on muscle. Now, both men and women can fall into this category, and when they're out of shape, it's fairly common for extra fat to gather around the midsection, which causes the look that Louis mentioned. But don't worry, all hope is not lost. And to help answer this question, I reached out to Coach Brian Parody, who specializes in what he calls bones to bulk training. Here's Brian.
So I started Bones to Bulk. I used to be a super skinny guy. I weighed 118 pounds and was super insecure. I walked with my shoulders slooped. I couldn't look you in the eye. I just had zero self-confidence. And I was watching through the Rocky series one day when I was 23. And after I watched it, I was like, I'm going to get buff. And I went out the very next day. I bought some weights. I bought a bench. I brought it home. I set it up at my house and worked out consistently for about a year. And I saw like literally no change. And I was like, what in the world is going on? That's when I really started to dive in and really do my research and learn things. So that's kind of what got me started. I have to thank Sylvester Stallone for that.
Now, I put Brian on the hot seat and I asked him to give us his take on a few questions that I get asked quite often via email, Facebook, Twitter, or voicemail. So here are Brian's responses, starting with the question, do I need to work out if I'm already skinny?
You know, to that point, a lot of people will say, oh, well, I wish I had that problem of, not being able to gain weight. But, both sides of the spectrum are really difficult. When you're very underweight, it's just as, mind crushing as being overweight. It's still that mental battle that we have to realize, I'm not happy with who I am. So I think it's important on both sides of the spectrum to work out, not just for our physical appearance, but for our lifelong health.
Now, the next question I asked Brian was, can a skinny person work out safely?
Yes, if you're skinny, you can still lift weights. Now, you're not going to start off at the top of the chain. Like when I first started, I was bench pressing, I think like the bar, and that's it. That's all I could do. So, don't be ashamed or afraid to start off with where you are. The thing is, regardless of how light of weight you're using, even if you're using 5-pound dumbbells, you should be focusing on your form, going slow on your repetitions, and really building those solid habits.
Now, the next question I had for Brian was, what exercises are best for an ectomorph?
I don't think there's a one-size-fits-all exercise. I honestly think that you should be hitting all muscle groups. So, break it up into individual days. I recommend starting off with a 5-day split. So chest and triceps one day, back and biceps one day, shoulders one day, legs one day, and then do like a circuit day where you pick a couple exercises from each muscle group. This is going to be the most beneficial for starting off. Down the road, you can change it up. You can hit muscle groups more than once a week. But for starting off, I think that's kind of the best approach. Each day, aim to hit about 7 to 8 exercises for the muscle group you're working out.
Now we're getting into the meat of things. The next question I asked Brian was, how should someone approach going from bones to bulk?
When people approach me and say, hey, how do you, gain weight? How do you gain muscle mass? I tell them several things, but the main thing is, go slow. This is not a sprint. It's a marathon. Whether you're trying to get weight loss, whether you're trying to bulk up, it takes time. It took me years to put on the muscle mass that I have now. It did not happen overnight. And the thing is, regardless of what your goal is, food is so important. It is absolutely the key to your success for any fitness journey. Until I changed the way I ate, nothing changed. And, a lot of people just told me, oh, well, just eat more. Well, that didn't work. I was eating 5,000 to 6,000 calories a day of pure junk food. I'm talking soda and ice cream and pizza and you name it. I was downing it. I ate Little Debbie snacks like by the box. So it wasn't just a matter of getting more calories in, because I was getting plenty, but it was a matter of getting in the right kinds of food to where my body could actually use them to build muscle.
Now, this question I get asked a lot, so I had to ask Brian, what is the best way to exercise if you want to bulk up?
As far as the best way to exercise, there's a lot of talk between low reps, high reps, what kind of equipment. Again, start off with what you can. Maybe you only have some dumbbells at home and that's all you have available. That's great. I mean, YouTube some videos on dumbbell workouts. There's so much good information out there if you just research it a little bit. If you have access to a full gym, that's awesome too. I think we get kind of caught up too much on the perfect rep range or the perfect amount of sets. Ideally, you should be changing it up. But if you're starting off, I recommend starting off with 3 sets and aim for rep range about 12 to 15 reps. Giving yourself a range allows you to have a little play with it. So, maybe one day you're feeling really good and you can hit 15, and maybe another day you're not feeling so good and you can only hit 12. It gives you a little bit of leeway. Also, I feel like this is a good range because it's not too high to where you're just ridiculously doing too many reps. With an extremely low weight, but it's also, low enough to where you can still lift a decent amount of weight. So that would be my suggestion for starting off, 3 sets of 12 to 15 on every exercise.
And this wouldn't be a proper Get Fit Guy episode if I didn't ask for some steps that my listeners can start doing right away.
So if you're, struggling with putting on weight, you're struggling with gaining muscle, the number one thing you should do is look at your nutrition. Yes, you have to work out in order to gain muscle, and I recommend you start doing that, even if it's a couple days a week. Do what you can now. That's the key. Don't feel like you have to jump headfirst into this. So the first thing is, yes, work out, ideally 5 days a week, but if you can't do that, that's fine. Do what you can. The second thing, though, is nutrition. I cannot talk about that enough. Make sure that you are eating good, healthy foods. And again, this doesn't happen overnight. You don't go from years of crappy eating to all of a sudden being on point with your diet. Start off small. So I hope this helps, and you can find me anywhere at Bones to Bulk. It's bonestobulk.com. And then all my social media handles are at Bones to Bulk. I appreciate your time.
And there you have it, folks. I'd like to thank Brian Parody one more time for coming on the podcast today to set us straight on how skinny people can put on muscle. Bulking up takes time, just like losing weight does, but it is not hopeless. And of course, my favorite piece of advice from Brian today was, don't get caught up trying to find that perfect workout. Start where you are and do what you can. All right, thanks for listening, everyone. And don't forget to tune in next week because I'm going to be telling you all about how to use a BOSU, or a half dome. It's a pretty fun piece of fitness equipment, and I think you will enjoy this one. So, until then, my name is Brock Armstrong. I'm the Get Fit Guy, asking you, what are you waiting for? Get out there and eat healthily, train seriously, and go from bones to bulk.